Your grandma knows hacks that can save you this autumn from broken windows, musty smells, and even high heating costs. And almost no one uses them. In this video, you'll get 45 of these genius autumn hacks that really work. And the one tip at the end could even save you real money. If you don't want to miss any of these genius autumn hacks, subscribe to our channel now, and let's get started right away. Wrap apples in newspaper to keep them fresh longer. In the cool cellar, baskets full of apples were stacked, but Grandma knew how to keep them crunchy into winter. Each individual apple got its sheet of newspaper, as if it were a small dress, so they didn't touch each other, and no rotten spot could infect the others. The paper absorbed moisture and preserved the aroma. Sometimes it smelled like printer's ink and autumn. Whoever checked the apples regularly could enjoy them for months. Set up vinegar essence in small bowls. After a hearty roast, the scent often lingered in the air for a long time. Grandma then set up small bowls with vinegar essence on the table or next to the stove. The sharpness of the vinegar drew in the heavy odors, as if someone had opened an invisible window. Diluted with a little water, the vinegar remained mild, but effective enough to make the kitchen feel fresh. Hours later, it no longer smelled like onions, but like clarity and order. Store potatoes with an apple to prevent them from sprouting so quickly. In the pantry cellar, the potatoes lay in heavy wooden crates covered by cool darkness. Among the tubers rested a single apple. It released its invisible gas and held back the sprouts. Grandma knew that this way the harvest remained firm and nutritious longer. The apple shouldn't be overripe, otherwise it lost its effect. Whoever regularly checked and removed spoiled pieces could enjoy good potatoes throughout the winter. Save onion peels. From the unassuming peels of the onion, a treasure arose that was not wasted. Grandma collected them in a bowl until enough had gathered. Then she boiled the peels. The water slowly turned golden to reddish. Eggs were placed in it, and they took on warm tones, sometimes fabrics, or wool too. The longer they rested, the more intense the result became. All without chemicals, just from what the kitchen provided anyway. Put bay leaf in flower pot. In the old flower pot lay not only the white gold for cakes and bread. Among the grains rested a bay leaf, unassuming, yet with a strong scent. It kept the tiny intruders away that would otherwise spoil the supplies. Grandma exchanged the leaves regularly as soon as their aroma weakened. In glass or tin cans, the protection was even more reliable. Sometimes she also added beans or rice, always accompanied by this spicy guardian from the garden. Use newspaper as a base for window cleaning. When the sun broke through the panes after the rain, one didn't reach for cloths, but for old newspapers. The crinkling paper eagerly absorbed the water. The printer's ink gave the glass a fine shine. With quick movements, the dirt dissolved without leaving streaks. Grandma always saved the daily papers for this, the ones that had already been read. Afterward, the damp pages went into the oven and provided their use one last time. Use old wool socks as dusters. Worn-out wool socks didn't end up in the trash, but found their place in the cleaning basket. Slipped over the hand, they transformed into soft dust catchers. The fibers held the fine coating firmly, while one moved lightly over shelves, picture frames, and table edges. This way, one reached even the small corners where no cloth could go. Grandma shook the sock out in the yard afterward, sometimes washed it too and laid it ready for the next use. Orange peel in vacuum cleaner bag. From the peels of the oranges, nothing was wasted. They were laid to dry on the oven or at the window until they were hard and light. Then a piece went into the vacuum cleaner bag. With every pass through the room, a warm, fruity scent spread, as if someone had sliced fresh fruits. Grandma especially liked it when this smell lingered in the house after cleaning, a small remnant of summer that remained even on gray days. Coffee grounds against odors in the refrigerator. In a small bowl, it stood there, unassuming and dark, the coffee grounds from the morning. Grandma placed it in the refrigerator, and suddenly the heavy smell of sausage and fish disappeared. Instead, a light touch of coffee lay in the air, warm and familiar. Every few days, the bowl was renewed, freshly filled with the next brew. This way, the refrigerator remained clear and also filled with a note that reminded of breakfast. Old stockings for straining liquids or as polishing aid. When a stocking got a run, it wasn't lost yet. One cut it into pieces, and already a fine sieve arose. Broths, juices, or syrup ran through, clear and without turbidity. Grandma also gladly reached for it when silver was polished or glasses were brought to a high shine. The soft fabric left no scratches, but a shining gloss. So a piece of clothing lived on that had long served its purpose in everyday life and got a fixed place in the household. Salt bowl in damp corners. In damp cellar corners often stood a small bowl full of coarse salt. It absorbed the moisture from the air and turned into hard lumps. Grandma placed these bowls on plates or in old clay bowls that were left over somewhere. When the salt became heavy and moist, it went into the oven and dried through the heat and was used again. This way, the air remained clearer and mold had less chance to spread. Rice in a glass and store open in the bathroom. On the shelf in the bathroom sometimes stood a glass full of rice, unassuming and yet effective. It drew the moisture that collected in the corners after washing. Over time it became heavy, almost clammy, and then it went into the oven to dry again. Grandma sometimes mixed dried herbs into it, lavender or rosemary. This combined the simple pantry with a scent that filled the entire bathroom. Seal door cracks with rolled-up blankets. When the wind blew through the cracks, an old blanket helped, tightly rolled up and placed in front of the door. It lay there like a silent guardian and kept the warmth in the room. Grandma gladly reached for heavy wool blankets for this, which otherwise had no use. Sometimes someone sewed a long fabric roll, filled with remnants, that found lasting placement in front of the threshold. This way, the room remained cozy, even when the frost painted on the windows outside. Check window seals with candle wax in autumn. In autumn, the candle became the testing tool. Slowly, one moved the flame along the window frame. If it remained calm, everything was tight. But if it began to flicker, one knew where the cold entered. Grandma did this with a steady hand, thoughtful, and without haste. Afterward, she sealed gaps with putty or fabric strips. This way, the rooms remained warm, and outside the wind could rage without finding its way into the house. Use autumn leaves in garden bags as frost protection for plants. When the leaves fell in dense layers to the ground, their second task began. Filled into large bags, it didn't go to the trash, but to the beds and around the shrubs. There it lay, like a warm blanket over the roots. Grandma knew that roses and young plants survived the winter better this way. In spring, the old leaves went to the compost and nourished the garden one more time. Walnut leaves in beds to deter snails. Under the walnut tree, one collected the large, dark leaves in autumn. Their strong scent had an effect that was appreciated in the garden. Laid between lettuce plants and young cabbage, they kept the snails away. Grandma spread the leaves carefully, sometimes fresh, sometimes slightly dried. Over time, they rotted and gave nutrients back to the soil. This way, the leaves became a double blessing, protection for the plants and food for the earth at the same time. Collect rainwater in barrels. Next to the shed stood the large rain barrel, dark green and always half filled. Every shower made it overflow, and the water in it was soft and clear. In spring, one scooped it with the watering can to water the beds. Flowers, vegetables, everything thrived better with this gift from the sky. Grandma made sure the barrel was clean, free from leaves and dirt, to keep the water pure. A simple barrel became a treasure trove for the garden, dry herbs on the windowsill. As the days grew shorter, Grandma gathered thyme, rosemary, and sage from the garden. She tied them into small bundles and hung them on the windowsill, where the last sun warmed them gently. The leaves dried slowly, retaining their aroma, ready to be stored in jars for winter soups. The kitchen filled with a herbal scent, a reminder of the fading summer, all preserved with patience and sunlight. Use apple cider vinegar for cleaning windows. Grandma mixed apple cider vinegar with water in a spray bottle, turning it into a natural window cleaner. She'd spritz it on the glass, wipe it with a cloth, and the panes sparkled without streaks. The faint apple scent lingered briefly, leaving the house feeling fresh. It was a cost-effective hack that replaced harsh chemicals, proving the kitchen pantry could handle more than just cooking. Make a natural air freshener with cloves and oranges. Grandma poked cloves into orange peels, creating a fragrant ornament she hung in the kitchen or hallway. The citrus and spice scent wafted through the air, neutralizing musty autumn odors. As the orange dried, the aroma intensified, offering a warm, seasonal touch. It was a decorative hack that doubled as a natural deodorizer, using only what the season provided. Store root vegetables in sand. In the cellar, Grandma buried carrots, beets, and turnips in sand-filled crates. The sand kept them moist but prevented rot, preserving their crunch through the winter. She'd check them monthly, removing any soft spots. The earthy smell of the sand mingled with the vegetables, creating a rustic storage system that lasted until spring. Use fallen branches for kindling. Grandma gathered fallen branches after autumn storms, stacking them to dry near the shed. Once seasoned, they became perfect kindling for the stove, providing free heat. She'd break them into manageable pieces, ensuring a steady fire. It was a resourceful way to turn nature's debris into a warm necessity for the cold months ahead. Insulate walls with straw. Grandma stuffed straw into wall cracks or behind loose panels, creating a thick insulation layer. The dry stalks trapped air, keeping the cold out and the warmth in. She'd pack it tightly, sometimes covering it with fabric for a neater look. It was a low-cost, natural barrier that made the house cozier without modern materials. Make a draft excluder from old clothes. Grandma sewed old clothes into long tubes, stuffing them with fabric scraps to make draft excluders. Placed at door bottoms, they blocked cold air, keeping rooms warm. The patchwork designs added a homely charm, and the weight ensured a snug fit. It was a creative reuse that turned outgrown garments into practical warmth keepers. Preserve berries with sugar. Grandma picked blackberries and raspberries, layering them with sugar in jars to preserve their flavor. The sugar drew out moisture, creating a sweet syrup that kept the berries edible all winter. She'd seal the jars tightly, storing them in the cellar. It was a tasty hack that turned a fleeting harvest into a year-round treat. Use pumpkin shells as planters. After hollowing out pumpkins for soup, Grandma used the shells as planters for winter herbs. She'd fill them with soil, plant sage or parsley, and place them on the windowsill. The shells decomposed slowly, adding nutrients, while the herbs thrived indoors. It was a seasonal reuse that brought greenery into the home. Create a compost pile with fall leaves. Grandma raked fall leaves into a pile, mixing them with kitchen scraps to start a compost heap. The leaves broke down over winter, creating rich soil for spring planting. She'd turn it occasionally, ensuring airflow. It was a free way to recycle nature's bounty, turning autumn's fall into next year's growth. Polish furniture with olive oil and vinegar. Grandma mixed olive oil and vinegar to polish wooden furniture, bringing out a warm glow. She'd rub it in with a soft cloth, removing dust and reviving the wood's luster. The faint vinegar scent faded, leaving a clean, nourished finish. It was a natural hack that kept heirloom pieces shining without chemicals. Use chestnuts to repel moths. Grandma placed chestnuts in drawers and closets, believing their natural oils deterred moths. She'd gather them from under the trees, letting them dry slightly before use. The glossy nuts added a rustic touch while protecting woolens. It was a folk remedy that relied on nature's subtle defenses. Seal jars with wax for storage. Grandma melted candle wax to seal jam or pickle jars, pouring it over the lids to create an airtight layer. The wax hardened, preserving the contents through winter. She'd label each jar, stacking them neatly in the pantry. It was a traditional method that ensured long-lasting storage without modern lids. Hang garlic braids for pest control. Grandma braided garlic bulbs, hanging them in the kitchen or pantry. The strong scent repelled pests like pantry moths, while the braids dried for later use. The rustic decor doubled as a natural deterrent, keeping food safe. It was a practical hack that turned harvest into protection. Use potato water for houseplants. After boiling potatoes, Grandma saved the cooled water, using it to nourish her indoor plants. The starchy liquid provided nutrients, promoting healthy growth. She'd dilute it slightly, pouring it at the roots. It was a frugal way to recycle kitchen waste, turning it into plant food. Make a warming tea blend with fall spices. Grandma blended cinnamon, cloves, and dried apple pieces into a tea mix, steeping it in hot water for a cozy drink. The spicy aroma filled the house, warming both body and spirit. She'd store the blend in jars, ready for chilly evenings. It was a comforting hack that used the season's bounty. Insulate pipes with newspaper. Grandma wrapped exposed pipes with layers of newspaper, securing them with string to prevent freezing. The paper insulated against the cold, keeping water flowing. She'd check them during freezes, adding more if needed. It was a resourceful fix that protected the home's plumbing. Use old towels as washable rugs. Grandma turned worn towels into washable rugs, placing them in high-traffic areas. The thick fabric insulated cold floors, adding warmth underfoot. She'd toss them in the wash when dirty, keeping them fresh. It was a practical reuse that combined comfort with cleanliness. Dry seeds for next year's planting. Grandma collected seeds from the best tomatoes and peppers, drying them on paper in a warm spot. She'd label each batch, storing them in envelopes for spring. The dried seeds ensured a new crop, preserving the garden's legacy. It was a forward-thinking hack that saved money and effort. Create a scarecrow from old clothes. Grandma stuffed old clothes with straw to make a scarecrow, placing it in the garden to deter birds. The tattered outfit flapped in the wind, guarding the crops. She'd add a hat for character, turning it into a garden sentinel. It was a playful yet effective way to protect the harvest. Use vinegar to clean gutters. Grandma poured diluted vinegar into the gutters, scrubbing away leaves and grime with a brush. The acid broke down buildup, preventing clogs. She'd rinse with rainwater, keeping the flow clear. It was a natural clean that protected the home from water damage. Make a fire starter from egg cartons. Grandma filled egg carton cups with dryer lint or small wood scraps, pouring melted wax over them to make fire starters. Each cup ignited easily, kindling a steady fire. She'd store them in a tin, ready for the stove. It was a resourceful hack that turned trash into a heating aid. Store nuts in cloth bags. Grandma kept walnuts and hazelnuts in breathable cloth bags, hanging them in a cool, dry spot. The air circulation prevented mold, preserving the nuts' freshness. She'd check for spoilage, ensuring a winter snack supply. It was a simple storage method that relied on natural ventilation. Use fallen pine needles as mulch. Grandma spread fallen pine needles around garden beds, using them as a natural mulch. The needles insulated roots, reduced weeds, and added a forest scent. As they broke down, they enriched the soil. It was a free, seasonal layer that protected plants through the cold. Clean silver with baking soda and water. Grandma mixed baking soda with water to create a paste, using it to polish silverware. She'd rub gently with a cloth, rinsing off the residue, and the silver gleamed anew. The mild, abrasive, lifted tarnish without harsh chemicals. It was a kitchen-based hack that revived heirlooms. Make a wreath from autumn branches. Grandma gathered branches and twigs, weaving them into a wreath for the door. She'd add dried leaves or berries for color, securing it with twine. The rustic decoration welcomed guests while using nature's fall offerings. It was a creative hack that turned the season into art. Use candle stubs for emergency lighting. Grandma collected candle stubs, melting them into new candles or using them in holders for backup light. The small flames provided warmth and illumination during power outages. She'd store them in a jar, ready for need. It was a thrifty way to repurpose wax for dark nights. Knit scarves from leftover wool. Grandma gathered wool scraps, knitting them into scarves for the family. The colorful patterns reflected her evenings by the fire, each stitch a labor of love. The scarves kept necks warm, turning leftovers into gifts. It was a cozy hack that warmed both body and heart. And there you have it, Grandma's 45 autumn hacks to save your home. These timeless tips are practical, cost-effective, and proven to work. The last tip to save money? Switch to these methods and cut your heating bills this season. Let us know in the comments which hack you'll try first. Subscribe for more grandma wisdom, and let's make this autumn unforgettable.